Really excited to kick off today. We have fellows from, I believe, if I'm not counting incorrectly, 8 different aging biology-focused programs who are joining us. So I guess, Denise, very quickly, can you go to the next slide about why are we hosting this event in the first place? So we've been planning this for a little bit, and I think at the most fundamental level, very clearly, we want to help other young people navigate the longevity field. And I think one of the best ways is to get advice from peers who are at the same stage, who have the same goals and concerns that you might have. And of course, don't think any of us are doing this alone. No, there's a lot of different communities and fellowships that have been at least important to my own career. And today we're highlighting a few in case for those, I guess, if you haven't heard of some of these opportunities before, or if you don't know if a certain opportunity or initiative is maybe right for you. Secondly, I think it's really important to address human capital or talent in the fields. I think it's an interest of all the fellows on this call today, all of the initiatives who are with us, about how do who are the really awesome people in the aging biology space and how do you get more of the really awesome ones as well. And lastly, I'm going to keep this very brief. I think a lot of the outputs or outcomes from fellowships or initiatives, we don't always talk about it, whether because we signed NDAs or because a lot of things are just discussed internally. So I think today is a nice sort of way to show what we're doing to the public. And it's important to both receive support and also in order to sort of, get more people into this, more resources and funding. But yeah, that's a very brief spiel of why we're hosting this event. It's sort of been discussed between a few different fellowships, and we thought, why not just combine all these initiatives together and kind of share with the broader community? That is enough from me. I think we're going to talk a bit more about the stars of today. I'm not going to yap the whole time. It's just a quick reminder of the format for people on the call. We're going to have a bunch of lightning talks from all these fellows for about 3 minutes. And then afterwards, after each fellowship has presented, we'll have 1 or 2 minutes of questions. Please use the Zoom raise hand option to ask questions, because I know we have a lot of people on the call. And I think that should be it. Denise, do you mind going to the last slide? Okay, so very quickly, shameless promotion for LongX. We have the LongX Xplore Program going first. Very briefly about the Xplore Program. It is a remote summer fellowship designed for early career professionals and students. We offer a blend of courses and career development experiences. And our overall goal or belief was that regardless of your location, your education, or age, you should be able to contribute to the field in some way. And we really emphasize the application part of this. So we want people to be able to apply their knowledge in opportunities with biotech companies. So this year, just a very quick stats, we had 12 different biotech partners with us, 15 fellows, of which one of them is here today to talk about his experience. So yes, please welcome Nicholas Cheng as our first speaker for today.
Thanks, Marvin. Appreciate that. All right. Can everyone hear me okay? Great. I'm going to go ahead and share my presentation. And when it goes to full screen, I might not see anyone. So, okay, I can still see you. Perfect. People can see everything okay?
Yes.
Fantastic. All right. So yeah, I guess I can just launch right into it. Hi, everyone. I'm Nick, a youth in longevity. We've all been there. Middle of the night, turn off the light, run up the stairs and into bed, safe from the monsters. But often you can't help thinking about the darkness. You're sure you're warm and cozy now, but what if one day you can't run? What about your parents, your grandparents? What happens when one day the dark catches up? A shared childhood experience for sure, but sometimes don't worry about it isn't enough consolation. And why not? After 2 months, after a published declaration that we would not be able to fly for millions of years, the Wright brothers achieved heavier than air flight. And as Shaw said in so many words, don't settle for the status quo. With that in mind, I was always reading books on biotech, stem cells, chronobiology, embryology, etc. And my friends and I would often hike around Ontario and reconnect with the whole web of life, enhancing my love for, I guess, biology and natural science as a whole. To learn and pursue my fortune, I took a Bachelor's of Science in Biochem Biotech, and now I'm rounding out my Master's in Pharmacy and Chem Eng. I used biotech early on during my experience to try and create a scalable method for production of LAL, which is the horseshoe crab blue blood that is used in the biomed industry. But as fate would have it, I ended up working more with crayfish and discovering some interesting parasites inside. Parasites, they're always hungry. And speaking of that, I had to eat, right? So I also like traveling. And because of that, I linked up with the Royal Canadian Naval Reserve. It allowed me to work part-time during the year and to travel to the coast in the summer. It was definitely an interesting job, teaching us how to navigate at sea, but also navigate a team dynamic, which is arguably more important. Number one thing I saw holding people back was chronic occupational injuries and lifestyle injuries, which led to my interest in occupational health and medicine. Despite the stable prospects, I still love playing with value and tech innovation. The region of Waterloo has an amazing startup culture and encourages young founders to be problem obsessed rather than building a solution that no one might even buy or want. With that lean mindset, I tried a variety of industries, research biotech, municipal water monitoring, consumer health, and others, before founding my company, Evolve Biotech, in industrial wastewater management. Though we're doing less biotech now and more nanotech. Although all of that is really just a preamble to my true passion, which is longevity. And I have had the blessing of having a plethora of opportunities recently. The one-on-one mentorship scheme with cell therapy related researcher from the British Society of Gene and Cell Therapy, the LongX Fellowship to build a strong foundation, and of course, the career development experience with the PLG, which focuses on understanding how the public perceives longevity through data. With these combined efforts working on longevity, we can make our own light, and I know that one day the dark will run from us. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Nick. Do we have any questions from the audience regarding what Nick has been doing, the fellowship, or anything else?
I have a great question for you, Nick. I know it's a little biased, obviously, you're part of our fellowship. My question for you is like, obviously you've had like this wide range of experiences like across multiple ranges of biotech. What's unique about longevity? Like what drew you to it and like what plans do you have to work in the future?
Honestly, so the longevity question is, I'm sure that's the reason why everyone's here, right? It's a problem that affects pretty much everyone, and it's just a matter of, like I said in the beginning, really just mounting the response to actually care about it. I think that at some point, people, no matter no matter where they are in life, they'll always think about, eventual mortality, and they'll have regrets of, what they could have done, what they might have done. But you know what? Giving people more time or even just extending the healthy time is probably one of the I believe it's one of the greatest mysteries that we still have yet to face, and we're all trying to work on a variety of different things related to that. So I think it's a very human post space travel and everything. There's always the question of longevity. I mean, you even hear this from like the ancient stories, the Epic of Gilgamesh, a variety of things, sources in the Bible as well. There's a lot of people related to finding ways to live longer and have these fantastically long lifespans. So I think it's just it's a very human thing to want to pursue.
Yes, after we're done with longevity, I definitely want to dive into everything else that you've mentioned in your presentation and learn about all the other stuff. And I need book recommendations from you. I saw some great books in your pictures, and I'll need to know what they are afterwards. So thanks so much, Nick. I guess we're gonna go to the next fellowship, which is the Buck Institute Postbac program. And as many of you know, the Buck Institute was one of the first institutes to actually tackle the aging process and studying it. It was founded in '99, and I think we have a few people on this call who have actually worked there and been there, really spent some good amount of time in the Buck Institute. And the Buck has a few research programs, including a summer scholars program for undergraduates. It has Spark, it has the postbac program, and the latter one is what is going to be our highlight today, as it offers an immersion in research for 1 or 2 years before you just go on to your graduate studies or biotech profession. And now I'm happy to invite to talk the best rock climber at the Buck Institute and fresh up finishing her postbac. So Pascal Foreman, please take it on.
Hi, thank you so much for that introduction. Let's see, we're gonna share and hope that it works. Can everyone see okay? Okay. Thank you so much for that introduction. So yeah, my name is Pascal Foreman, and I was a part of the Spark program, the Spark Postbac program at the Buck Institute. So I thought I would just give kind of a background of who I am and how I got here. So I'm originally from Austin, Texas, and then I moved to Memphis, Tennessee to attend Rhodes College, where I pursued a BS in neuroscience and in German studies, which is kind of a funky combo, but I wanted to do it, so I did. Some of the things that I did at Rhodes, which got me interested in research and just in things in general. So I participated in an undergraduate research project with my team here, where we presented at Rhodes Symposium, and I did research to understand microglial activation patterns in the hippocampus in epilepsy models. So that was a lot of rodent work and a lot of immunohistochemistry and studying the brain. Some other things that I did while I was at Rhodes is I actually lived in Tübingen, Germany for a year for a study abroad. So it was an exchange program, it was full immersion, and this is really where I got to engage with the German studies side of my degree. But this wasn't a place where I left neuroscience behind by any means. I took master's courses in neuroscience and was able to not participate so much in research, but I definitely got to see a lot of it through my professors and my classes. And that's where I learned about organoids and all those cool things that are happening in that space. And then you also mentioned climbing. So I founded the Rock and Roads Climbing Club, which is something that is really important to me, where we partnered with a local organization called Memphis Rocks to do community outreach. We also got a Red Bull sponsorship, which was super awesome, so we could host climbing competitions. So I kind of had a lot going on at Rhodes, but I knew that research was something that I was definitely interested in. I was also interested in medicine, and so when graduation came, I decided to apply to different programs, post-baccalaureate programs, whatnot. And that is how I ended up at the Buck Institute. So like you mentioned, the Buck Institute is one of the first or the first institute dedicated to research on aging. And at the Buck, I was in Dr. Tara Tracy's lab, and I was working on a project to develop an intranasal delivery technique for peptide-based Alzheimer's therapeutic. So it was kind of like this preclinical testing, this translational research, which was really important to me. And we also did some work in aging rodent models as well. And we were working towards applying the same therapeutic to that context as well. At the Buck, not only did I get to do research, but I had a lot of networking opportunities and places that I could get myself out there, which was super exciting. So I got to participate in the Buck Grad Student Society, where I was on the board that organized the Buck Student Aging Symposium. At the symposium, I got to present my poster and I got to host a panel with senior level professionals about career development for students like us. And then I also got to present a poster at the Bay Area Aging Meeting, which was super exciting. The program actually ended at the end of August, and right now I'm actually applying to medical school with plans to start in the fall of 2026. So wish me luck while I do that. And I'm happy to answer any questions. And if you have any other questions for me, you are welcome to email me and reach out. I would love to talk.
Great, that's awesome. Love meeting people who are looking for med school after all this research experience. That's gonna be a journey. Any
Yeah.
questions from the audience?
Actually have a question. I know Steve looks like he's going to ask one too, but I was going to say you worked with Dr. Tracy, and there's a lot of great researchers at the Buck. I was going to ask how you ended up picking which lab you're going to be with for the full year.
Yeah, for sure. So that was kind of a funky process. So the way that it worked, it was kind of like a match process. If you're all familiar with like how med school residency matching works, or even like sorority matching, it's the same thing where we ranked the different labs we were interested in, and the labs ranked all the students. And then they went into a room and secretly decided where we got to go. So I didn't have too much of a say, but I did rank Dr. Tracy's lab as my top lab. And like I said, my background is in neuroscience, and I definitely have a passion for neuroscience. And this was my first introduction into brain aging as well. So it's not something I had known a lot about. And so I was kind of excited that I could apply my neuroscience to this like aging context while still like working with the preclinical and the translational research that kind of applied to my interests in medicine as well. So it just kind of checked all my boxes.
So, Paul, we still have your question, or
Marvin kind of asked it. I was gonna ask, like, what is the process like? I know the Buck has so many labs and so many startups in there. I guess I
Mhm.
do have a follow-up question. Like, amongst your community of people that were working at the Buck, like, what was your experience like now that you wrapped up? Is it something you recommend to people?
Yeah, it is definitely something I would recommend to people. So my college, Rhodes College, it was a very small liberal arts college. My lab was 4 people. There are no grad students. I was the most senior level person there, which I feel like I should not have been the most senior level person there. But so to be in an actual true like academic setting, even if it wasn't at a big university, we had PhD students, we had postdocs. Like I had a postdoc mentor who I directly reported to, and then Dr. Tracy was kind of well, she was my PI, so like I had weekly meetings with her, but my postdoc was who I worked with one-on-one most of the time. So being able to see all those dynamics was super awesome. And then the grad student society was super awesome. It provided me with so many networking opportunities to present my research and whatnot. So being able to go to like UCSF and talk to professors, and things like that was great. At the end of the program, we also got to do like our own mini symposium with just the Spark postbacks where we presented our research, and we invited professors from UCSF and Stanford. So I got to have conversations with them about their research. Some of them were MD PhDs as well. So just overall, it was a really great program and a really great space. And they're so welcoming to students and to teaching. And so I would definitely recommend it to others.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a great add-on when it comes to the longevity space. Meeting people in real life does not compare to doing remotely, especially because it's such a small field, being surrounded by people who actually think like you and do the type of work that you're doing must have been amazing. So thank you so much, Pascal.
Yeah, of
I'm
course.
gonna go on and introduce the next fellowship, which is the Lifespan Research Institute Summer Scholars. So many of you have probably heard about the Sense Research Foundation, which now has merged with Lifespan.io to become the Lifespan Research Institute. And this is a nonprofit based in Mountain View, California. It focuses on age-related diseases and a healthy human lifespan through science, research, education, and specifically on the education front, LRI offers a post-bac fellowship and graduate internships. Their summer scholar program has run for over a decade now, which honestly is impressive given how young the longevity field as a whole. And undergraduate students get to work in host labs and companies across the US and engage in a research project while hosting um, different writing and presentation workshops. So speaking about the experience today at LRI, we have today Santa Clara University student Megan Baldemore. So I'm going to let you take on, Megan.
Hi, thanks for that introduction. Let me just share my screen. All right, can everyone see it? Wonderful. So like Denise said, I did the Summer Scholars Program. Oh, and I'm Megan. And I worked at the Snyder Lab in San Diego, California at Sanford Burnham Prebys. So just a little bit about me. I grew up in Honolulu, Hawaii, and that's actually where I am now. But I moved to college, or I moved to California for college, and I attended Santa Clara University. I'm still there, and I'm about to start my senior year. I'm pursuing a major in biology and minors in chemistry and medical and health humanities. I've known that I wanted to do research for a long time. And so here I've been able to pursue a lot of opportunities, including clinical research. I've done biochemistry research. I've done neurobiology research, and this really solidified my commitment to the field. But I was still kind of unsure about what it was that I wanted to do specifically. And that was until I took a polymer chemistry class where I did my final project on hydrogels and their application in neural tissue engineering. And this was really where I was introduced to human neural stem cells for the first time. And after I learned a bit about them, I started looking for research opportunities that would allow me to do research related to these cells. And that's when I came across the Lifespan Research Institute because they would allow me to work with Dr. Evan Snyder, who is one of the founding fathers of human neural stem cells. And so I applied and I got in. And so I just finished up my summer program there, and it was just a really incredible experience. So at the Snyder Lab, I got to work on a project related to partial reprogramming in induced neurons. I also got cell culture experience with human neural stem cells, induced pluripotent stem cells, and adenocarcinoma cells. I attended and presented at lab meetings. I got to go to this really cool event called Bench to Bedside that my PI hosted at SBP every month, where basically we would get to hear from a patient and their physician about their case, and that was really, really interesting. We also were able to attend any presentation that was held at SBP. And so I would just go with members of the Snyder Lab if I was interested in what was being presented that day, and that was really, really awesome. More specifically related to the Summer Scholars Program, I attended how to read a research paper workshops. I had to present a proposal presentation based on my project. I went to the faculty talk. I had to give a speed pitch for my project, and there was also an external research talk. And altogether, these experiences really helped to solidify my foundation as a researcher, and I would highly recommend it to anyone that's like an undergrad, a post-bac, still in their early career stages, because it really does help with that foundation. And Lily, the director of the program, really likes workshops, or not workshop, well, yes, workshops, but also worksheets. And these worksheets really help you to work through your ideas and your foundation. So it's really great. I don't know if this matters to anyone, but to me, it was really important because I was not super confident about moving somewhere where I didn't have any friends or family, and just being there completely new. But I ended up having a lot of fun with the members of the Snyder Lab. They're now lifelong friends. We went to movies together, hikes together, we played games, all kinds of things. It was a really incredible experience. Yeah, again, just the entire program as a whole, I'd really recommend to anyone interested. And if you have any more questions about it, feel free to email me. That's my email there. But other than that, yeah, I'd be happy to take questions. Thanks for listening.
Awesome. This sounds like a really holistic experience with everything that LRI had to offer. Do you have any questions from the audience? Okay, if not, I guess we're gonna hop on to Stefan with Norn and doing your own spiel on Norn Group and what it means.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Thanks again, Megan. That was great. It sounds like LRI has a great community. Also, I like lectures on demand. That sounds pretty cool too. Yeah. So, guys, it is nice to meet all of you guys. My name is Stefan. I'm co-founder of LongX. Recently, though, I have been chief of staff at Norm Group. So we've been doing some pretty cool work, and I'll share a little bit about that with you guys right after I figure out how to share screen here. All right. Let me know if you guys can see my screen.
Now we can see it.
Awesome. Okay, so a little bit about Norm Group. Before I get into it, obviously I'm chief of staff. We have a couple of people in the call today who are also part of our group Nexus. Max, who will be talking a little bit later, is part of our group as well. Show, who will be speaking actually right after me. But what exactly is Norm Group? Some people know us, some people don't. But on a larger scale, we kind of do everything by our mission. We're trying to make sure that a 60-year-old by the year 2060 can live another 60 years. Reach that 120-year mark without being frail, old, kind of suffering from the multimorbidity, all these like range of diseases that we have with aging. And how do we exactly do that? All of our efforts kind of lie towards like the research and development side of the aging field. We have talent programs, we have technical analyses that we put out, we have proposals, funding, grants, and everything is kind of with this concrete solutions mindset. We want to make sure that we start these projects that take decades to complete today. It's not like, by the time we get to that point where we need the data or the research that requires decades of longitudinal studies to start, then it would take even longer, right? So why not look at the bottlenecks ahead of time and try to tackle them today? Now, I'll go over a couple of our programs really quickly. These are our 3 programs as of 2025 today. Impetus Grants is what most people are most familiar with, kind of pioneered the fast grant system run by Lada, who essentially over 3-4 years has deployed for like $34 million. So we had grants from like $100,000 to $700,000 that we rewarded, and it's been super successful. We've had like 40 plus aging labs join in. We had 200 plus papers published from it. And I believe there's like 8 new aging labs in the world because of Impetus Grants, which is amazing, right? We have Talent Bridge, which is a little bit more niche, one of our more recent programs that I manage. It's more focused on global talent, non-US actors who are, doing really cool stuff in aging. They may be, thinking of a startup in the future, doing some ambitious research. And our whole goal with this program is to help them and provide them with the resources and the network to do even better, accelerate their progress, exemplify what exactly they're doing. And last but not least, Nexus. This is our community program. It is a niche group, and we call it our do tank. It has a bunch of high potential actors, and the whole goal here is we meet every Sunday. It's not a traditional journal club. We hop in a call, we work on problems usually. So like if we have 4 weeks in a month, 3 out of the 4 weeks is us working on some type of proposal, solution, or some initiative. And then all that comes out to become public resources, which I'll wrap up here very soon here. Ends up potentially an effort. So this right here, the big picture is on our website. Most recently, we've had a great website overhaul. I would highly recommend you guys check out our big picture web app. I spent multiple months developing it. Vibe coding, teaching yourself how to do all that is fun, but it's a great resource and roadmap to kind of identify what are like high opportunity areas in the field. And some of our other efforts that are more recent, we have our clock assessment program run by Satvik, who is actually president of Aging Initiative, which I think Max will talk about in a second. We have a bunch of other pieces and papers and resources. We have a sheet that talks about age-related diseases, so that if you're thinking of potentially looking at a disease target, take a look at it, see what we've talked about. And our Aging Curriculum Journal Club is this like pretty famous essentially chronological order of papers. So if you're new to the aging field, or if you're not 100% certain as to like what you should care about, that's a great place to start. I'll also do a shameless plug here. Go check out our Substack that just launched, Life Expansion. The link's right there. Trying to figure out how to get a QR code. But other than that, thank you guys for listening for that short spiel. I will hand it off to, actually, I'll open it up for questions very quickly, and then I'll hand it off to Sean. Any questions? No questions. That's okay. That means I did a great job. No questions mean I did phenomenal. All right. So if that's the case, I'll hand it over. Show, the floor is all yours. Really excited to hear more about what you're up to.
All right, thanks, Sufal. Really appreciate it. Hopefully you guys can see my Google Slides screen share right now. Is that all right? Oh yeah, okay. So hi, I'm Sho. I'm the founder of a new think tank called the Public Longevity Group, and it's a part of the Lifespan Research Institute. Just to give a little bit of background about myself, I've been in the research and longevity space for a while. I studied at Imperial College and have had a slew of different research, participated in different research opportunities. Some highlights include co-founding a cultured meat media company. I'm no longer part of them, but they did really well. They're worth like millions now. So, and I keep in contact with them. They're amazing guys. I also worked in Kyoto University under Dr. Shinya Yamanaka. It's part of his department. And more recently, as I've gone towards a more longevity focus, I've studied at the Max Planck Institute for the Biology of Aging in Köln in Germany as part of the Adam and Tebu lab. And just most recently, I was part of the Kaizo lab at the Buck Institute, right? I've been part of 3 different longevity-related fellowship initiatives, TIME, NORN, and the Longevity Biotech Fellowships. All of these were really instrumental in my growth as a member of the longevity community. It helped me understand longevity through dialogue and also helped me nurture a network through connections. Today, I lead a new initiative called the Public Longevity Group. We are incubated in Lifespan Research Institute formally. Some of their other incubation alumni include Cyclarity Therapeutics, which you guys may have heard of, but also Life Noggin, which is a science communications YouTube channel. It's a 3-man team. We're starting off small right now. I'm the director along with Dylan Wintle, who's also part of LongX, and Doyle Lotiliakul, who is our communications lead. Nick is our LongX intern, and we're very proud to have him. And we have a very exciting advisory board who's bringing a lot of different and diverse experience in longevity. So what is the Public Longevity Group? The main problem that we want to address is the issue of public trust and its relationship with the longevity community. We believe that public trust is the most fundamental bottleneck to any kind of movement that's being driven forward, any kind of movement. And we believe that longevity suffers quite greatly from it. If you look at many academic studies on the public perception of the prospect of living longer, A lot of them are actually quite negative, and that means that scientific breakthroughs, general skepticism, regulatory uncertainty, and investor reluctance are major barriers to success for us, right? And so Public Longevity Group was founded in order to build trust between what we see as two disconnected worlds. One is the public themselves, which include things like non-longevity investors, the general public, influencers, regulatory landscape, etc., and the longevity ecosystem as well. So the longevity advocacy groups, longevity biotechs, and longevity investors. We see ourselves as kind of the bridge, the gaps between these two groups, so that they can understand each other a little bit more and begin to build trust in a very systematic way. The way that we do this is by using a data-driven approach for our advocacy. So we measure by tracking sentiment and narratives across public policy and investors. We use marketing tools, A/B testing, surveying, etc., to do that. We model the psychographics, archetypes, and risks around these narratives. And then we test new narratives and new communication strategies that can appeal to underrepresented groups that not yet are targeted by current longevity narratives. And once we do that, we share it with the rest of the longevity community so everybody can benefit. And what that creates is that there's clear data on what communication strategies resonate, there's reduced reputational cultural risk, and a stronger public support and policy traction. And at the end of the day, we hope to build impact that leads to fairer, faster adoption of longevity. We recently released a crowdfunding campaign, literally just a day and a half ago. Please check us out. A lot of information is on there. I would have loved to share with you a lot of the data that we've produced a lot of data that will be hosted online quite soon. You guys can look forward to that. But in the meantime, please check us out and please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you so much for your time. Yeah.
I guess the first question is going to come from me as, okay, please share one of the interesting or unexpected insights that you got out of your first research into the public sentiment about longevity, if you have any favorite.
Okay, I'll do it. All right, let's see. So thank you for giving me this little bit of extra time to be able to do so. I'm opening it right
I
now.
mean, it's exciting.
So
You deserve it.
yeah. So this is technically unpublished work, but I promise it'll be up in like a day or two. So one of the things that we do is we track like longevity longevity search interests around the country. We're currently pretty American centric, but we take advantage of Google traffic trends to discover which part of the country's longevity currently resonates the most. And this is like basically our figure one. You can see it's a heat map. The more kind of purplish it is, the higher relative longevity interests there are. And you can see it's kind of the expected like West Coast and Northeast, right? But one of the amazing things that we've discovered is that actually, if you look at this place here, Colorado, and actually Utah and Arizona, they actually are looking quite purple and rival even like the Northeast and the Northwest as well. And nobody really talks about longevity in Colorado, but it's actually apparently a hotspot. People are interested there. We believe that that could be the next longevity center. Nobody is actually doing anything there, and yet the things are kind of popping. So hopefully we will see that kind of investment there in the future. Just to run you guys really quickly through it, we use sentiment analysis we do like a lexicon mapping to discover uncover the current set of narrative archetypes that are used today to discuss longevity, and we kind of track that throughout like demographics and psychographics and correlate it with like different econometrics that's related to the regions. So in a sense, we can get a really good understanding of which demographics longevity appeals to the most and the least, and also what kind of like personality of a person who's interested in longevity or not, right? So these are some pretty exciting insights that we're really looking forward to sharing with the rest of you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, we got a question from a good friend and longevity researcher in the comments, Dashani. She's asking about if this correlates with life expectancy in the States that you
Boom.
mentioned.
Yes, it does. So I guess just go back to this. So we looked at life expectancy. You can actually see at the bottom right here. Life expectancy, we use a Pearson's correlation coefficient. So -1 just means less interested in longevity, and +1 means more interested in longevity. Anything above 0.5 is considered really, really high, because this is kind of like a very diversified data set. And so there's actually a lot of noise, but that's expected in these kind of social science context. So so it shows that life expectancy of the region is really correlated with increased longevity interest. Our current working hypothesis is that we see that longevity interest is really highly correlated with things like life expectancy, median income, happiness, openness, what else? Like age and education. And generally, they're kind of like either independent or democratic leaning. So, we have a pretty good idea of what kind of person is generally, on average, the most interested in longevity, right? And of course, the inverse is also true. We also know what is not where people are not interested in longevity, and that's why we have to start working hard to change people's minds, right? Yeah. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Shar. Assuming that nobody has other questions, we're gonna hop into actually okay. There is one more question from the audience. What are the top 3 life expectancy interventions that have a high probability of success at the moment? I feel like that's such a general question. We could address it maybe in the comments if you want to answer to it, so we can go on to the next one. Unless you want to give an answer now.
But it's not my field of expertise. Like this is like so. Well, I can just say like sleep, exercise, and eating well. That's like 100% going to increase your lifespan. Like I guarantee it. But sorry, I'm not like like a professor that can give like rapamycin or something. I can't say that. But yeah, thank you so much for your time, guys. I really appreciate being part of this event. Thank you.
Yeah, this is no medical advice over here. So thank you so much, Joe, again. And now we're gonna go to the next interesting group that we have presenting today, which is the Longevity Research Circle. We have um two founders here, so Jonas and Albert, who are going to talk about what they're doing at LRC. The mission of the LRC is to connect trainees, to inspire interest, and to facilitate scientific discourse on aging and regenerative medicine research. So LRC is a Canadian-driven student collective with teams in Toronto and Vancouver, where they host journal clubs, local events, and conferences, including the Toronto Aging Biology Symposium. Recently, LRC has also introduced a monthly seminar series for students interested in pursuing careers in the aging field. So you guys can take it over.
Thank you, Denisa. That was just as good as an explanation as I think we're both going to give. So
I also just want to clarify really quick, I'm not a founder of the LRC. I joined very, very recently. But they have played a very important role in my journey in the aging and longevity space. So
likewise here. So, okay, so we'll give it a little, I guess we can introduce ourselves super quickly, since everyone else has been introducing themselves. My name is Albert. I am originally from Canada, did my undergrad at McGill in neuroscience, and now I'm starting my PhD at Harvard and studying brain aging. And I love the aging space because I feel like it's such a complicated problem that we get to solve that is so wide ranging in terms of what we can tackle. And yeah, I'll let Jonas introduce himself too.
yeah, my name is Jonas. I have a background in biochemistry, but I've been sort of searching for what I want to specialize in as I'm starting grad school, and I think aging is really one of the most important problems out there right now, and I want to be a part of that. So I'm now pursuing my PhD at the University of Toronto.
Okay, so we'll go a little bit over what LRC is. So, the LRC was started because we saw, especially in the Canadian ecosystem, a lack of coordination in terms of exchange of ideas in the aging field. There were pockets of research at different labs doing different aging research, but there really wasn't any cross-pollination and communication between everyone doing aging research, especially in Canada. And so the LRC was sort of founded as a way of bringing everyone together, because we realized that if we can, promote discussion and sharing of ideas, sharing of research, we can really sort of build on each other. And so our mission is really to connect trainees, to inspire interest, and also facilitate thoughtful discussions in aging and regenerative medicine. We do that through many different ways. One of them is we organize TABS, which is this annual conference that brings together trainees both in Canada and elsewhere too. It's open to everyone to talk about their research and about industry in the aging field. We also host journal clubs as well that are open to everyone, where we talk about different themes in the aging field. And so TABS is one of these. Really, our mission is to connect people who are involved in aging, both trainees who are just starting off, trainees who are already experienced in the field, as well as speakers in many different areas. These are some of the speakers that we've had so far. Can highlight a couple. Dr. Kyle Lowe at Stanford does really exciting research on the hematopoietic system and how it ages, as well as Daniel Drucker, who recently won the Breakthrough Prize for GLP-1 therapeutics, and a number of people in the industry as well.
So I could sit here and talk about stats. I mean, TABS really brings together a broad variety of people from all throughout their academic journeys, various trainees, and also people who've never heard about aging. And one of those people was myself. So I attended TABS for the first time 2 years ago. I came back this year, and I actually found my current PI that I'm studying with at TABS. So it's really a great way to introduce people to aging. Really shows you sort of where the field is at and where we can go, and also connects trainees with some of the brightest minds in the space.
And then the other thing that we're really excited about is hosting journal clubs. And we have sort of seasonal journal clubs that we'll host. We've hosted some in brain aging, immune aging, as well as Evo-Devo, so the evolution of aging. And we love to bring in, primary speakers from the papers that we run. And so one of them, for example, was Dr. Steven Treister from Harvard and Boston Children's Hospital. We talked about sort of the evolution of aging in rockfish, which is a long-lived species. And it's really cool because you get to kind of get the insight from the first authors of these papers that have really thought about this and grappled with this for a while.
And so I'm very excited to announce that we're starting a new initiative called Workshops in Translational Longevity, WTL for short. Our working logo is a short peptide, right? If you know WTL, then you know. And the point of this is to sort of bridge together people who are very passionate about longevity, but don't really know how they can take their ideas beyond the benchtop. I think in science, we're often just taught yeah, you can go to the next slide so people can scan the QR code. So we have a little mailing list if you want to stay up to date. But the main idea is that in science, we're not often taught how we can bring our ideas out into the real world. How can we really make an impact? We're just sort of taught, figure it out, learn all the science, but stop there. And so we're going to bring together some of the brightest minds in the translational space, so people can actually learn how to bring their ideas from benchtop to bedside. That's sort of our main goal.
And yeah, that's about it. Thanks so much for listening. And we'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us. And we will be hosting TABS 2026 in 2026 sometime. And we'd love to see you there.
Love hearing from yet other Canadians and what's happening over there. And now I suppose expanding with you, Albert, moving on. Do you have any questions from the audience? Because if not, we're running a bit behind, so I'll hop over to Harvard Aging Initiative, which is a nonprofit building community at Harvard and around Boston to catalyze collaboration and new ideas in aging research and biotech by hosting events in the Boston area and informative resources. They mainly welcome undergrads and grad students from across the greater Boston area. They have their BioLearn project you can learn about on their website, as well as thematic series on aging. And today we have with us Max Fedorovsky, who's going to present a bit about it all.
Yeah, hi everyone. Just give me a second. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Perfect.
I can
yeah.
see it.
Lovely. Okay, so Hi everyone, great to be here. I'm Max. I'm a junior at Harvard. I'm from Ukraine originally, went to school in the UK, and then came to the US because I was interested in biotech. So right now my main interests revolve around developing therapeutics for aging and age-related diseases, with a particular emphasis on cardiometabolic and musculoskeletal disease areas. Also very interested in genetic medicine and new modalities more broadly that can address the complex phenotypes of aging, as well as delivery for those modalities. Really interested in biotech and startups, and looking at starting my own company at some point. And I am involved in the Aging Initiative, where I'm Vice President of Strategy and Growth, which is why I'm here. And yeah, these are some places that I've worked at. So as Denisa mentioned, we are a 501c3 nonprofit around the Greater Boston area. We're run by about 20 leadership team members, mostly out of Harvard undergrad, but we are very, we consist of undergrads, grad students, researchers, industry professionals. So it's a very diverse Boston kind of community, and we're not like strictly limited to one group or the other. And we've experienced some rapid growth. So we were founded just 2 years ago as an interest group of about 7 members, and we have since grown to about 1,800 members. And we're continuing to exponentially grow. And the idea is just to create the community in Boston to catalyze ideas, collaboration, innovation in aging research and biotech. And to that end, we're also very interdisciplinary, and there's a big emphasis on translation and bringing new aging therapeutics towards the clinic. So within our 2 years, we've been quite lucky to have hosted over 20 speaker events, professor dinners, journal clubs, conferences, and mixers. Some highlights include last spring we hosted a muscle aging symposium with over 400 attendees, which was one of the largest of its kind. And we've hosted our kind of flagship event that we're known for, the Future of Aging Research Mixer. This is a student-oriented mixer for students interested in aging in the Boston area. And we've been very fortunate to have been supported by companies like Eli Lilly, Novartis, Retrobio, and more. So this year, we're not slowing down. We've got growing even at a high rate. We have speaker events every 1 to 2 weeks featuring the top researchers, biotech, and pharma leaders in the age-related disease space. In November, we have our student-focused mixer coming up again. We are also starting up a really exciting aging clinical trial design workshop series in collaboration with Boston Pepper Center, led by the people who've led some of the most high-profile aging clinical trials to kind of brainstorm how the next one should happen. We're also doing a day of programming at the GSA 2025 conference, and in line with the exponential growth in the spring, we are excited to announce we are hosting a large brain aging conference, which will feature about 1,000 participants. So if any of this sounds exciting, yeah, please get involved. This is our website, QR code with interest form. So just feel free to like scan it. Anyone in the greater Boston area is very encouraged to come to our events. And you're also welcome to kind of indicate leadership interest as well. Again, we're growing very exponentially, and it's a really exciting time to be in the space. And yeah, feel free to reach out to me. Very happy to chat about anything.
Yes, so for the note at the end of the event, we're also going to send out a Google Doc with everybody's contact information so you can talk to them more after the event. And totally second the fact that you guys are throwing great events. Your muscle symposium was great. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what else you guys are going to do in Boston. And due to interest of time, I'm gonna go on to the Healthy Longevity Talent Incubator. And I suppose that you guys can, in the meantime, ask your questions in the chat for the audience members who are asking questions. The Healthy Longevity Talent Incubator is an 11-day program at the NUS Center for Healthy Longevity in Singapore, and it's subsidized so that it can lower financial barriers when it comes to education in healthy longevity. I usually host about 40 master's PhD students and early career professionals to help them learn about neuroscience and health and longevity. You basically get a lot of engagement with local communities, some field trips, some sort of like speed mentorship sessions throughout the 11 days. And today with us we have Stuti, who is going to explain how her program went throughout 2025 and 20.
Thank you so much, Denisa, for the introduction. So I'll be sharing my screen. Just a second. Yeah, so hello everyone. My name is Satya here, and I am an undergrad student at Vellore Institute of Technology, specializing in computer science and business. So my work lies at the intersection of AI, women health, and reproductive longevity science. So, as Denisa just said, I was selected as one of the 40 talents for the Healthy Longevity Talent Incubator at the National University of Singapore. And this year itself, I was also selected as one of the top 100 students for the Super AI conference. And I've been leading this fertility diagnostic research called ConceivTech, which will be presented at the Women Health Conference in Paris later this month. So, yeah. So, to be very honest, talking about my experience at the incubator would begin firstly from being selected at the incubator. I had a 50 to 30-minute interview process. And unlike everyone in the incubator, I am not typically from the traditional biology background. So, and I think I was the youngest one in the entire cohort. And so I had the opportunity to collaborate with people from 25 different countries, and I had the privilege of learning directly from Professor Andrea Meyer and Professor Hans, and their views about longevity as a whole really inspired me to work further in this field. So this fellowship exposed me to a lot of perspectives, be it philosophy, geromedicine, oral health, aging, to conversations with policymakers and entrepreneurs on building preventive health ecosystems. So one of the highlight was Singapore City Mission project on midlife women health transitions in Singapore as a super aging nation, which I'll be talking about later. And this examined the menopausal awareness and health seeking behaviors and policy gap among the Singaporean citizens, which was ultimately chosen as the winning mission for the entire cohort. So beyond the technical knowledge, I would say the thing that I value the most during this was the network and the mindset that I gained. That longevity science is not just about adding years to life, but also ensuring that the years are healthy, equitable, and meaningful. So yeah. So talking about the findings, so for this, we study surveyed about 429 participants, aged 21 to 99 across this Singaporean citizens, and about 69% of men and 41% of women did not recognize the common symptoms such as brain fog, fatigue, or hot flushes as menopause related. And more than half of those aged 21 to 44 were unaware that the symptoms were associated with this, and also 32.1% were in the age group of 45 to 59. And 62.9% said that they would only seek help if the symptoms were severe. And precisely about 81.6% would approach GPs, and about only 19.3% were aware that they were to seek special menopausal clinics, while nearly 60% were unaware that such services even exist. So these findings kind of undermine the fact to normalize the menopause conversations and improve public and provider education to strengthen the primary care training to manage the reference. Now, talking about the research project that I'm currently working on. So I'm working on this multimodal AI integration to integrate the different data sets, which is data data, which is imaging data, hormonal analysis, and genetic profiling and lifestyle integration. Since for any pre-IVF or fertility diagnostic, these factors are usually fragmented, and multimodal is proven to have a greater accuracy when it comes to cancer and other medical domains. But in infertility, it hasn't been used yet. So that's what we're working on at present. So our current stage is we are working on building validated clinical data sets and establishing collaboration with fertility clinics and PIs for more evidence-based solutions and making it accessible to everyone. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much. I would welcome any questions you might have.
Thank you so much. Super appreciate it. And it's definitely an important topic that, as you showed, we should educate the population more about. So thank you so much for raising awareness today about this. I think that, yeah, if anybody has questions, please ask in the comments, in the chat, so we can go on to the two very exciting speakers that we're going to end the day with, and they both represent Time Initiative. Time Initiative's mission is to activate students' interest in aging biology and support them with knowledge, resources, and mentors. They have had 2 cohorts to date. Third cohort opens up applications in December, and it has done in-person events on aging biology at several universities across the US. It has offered travel grants for the Aging Research Drug Discovery meeting in Copenhagen for those who are knowledgeable about it. And they have also funded projects throughout the fellowships for grant awards. And today we have with us Jolie and Sean. I guess Jolie can present first about her project. If here, actually, gonna see. Okay, yeah.
Awesome. I'm just gonna pull up the slides.
I'm vouching Jolie's a great person. And she's gonna have a great presentation.
Okay, can everyone see this okay? Okay, just making sure. Okay, awesome.
I can see.
Okay, hi guys. So it's really great to speak to both of you today, or to everyone today. I'm here representing the Time Fellowship. I think I saw Courtney and a couple other folks in the room for moral support. So that's fantastic to see you guys again. I run a thing called the Distressed Scientist Department, which is kind of like this child that merges art and science. And I'm really excited to explain this to you guys today. So briefly about me, I studied at U of T with a brief stint at MIT. I'm a Time Fellow for this year's cohort. And one of my biggest focuses right now is actually a little different from, I guess, these like research organizations. It's about how do you make this research legible? So a little bit about my work experience. I worked in research before. I was supposed to start my PhD at Stanford this year in neurosciences. I tried to work in a lab. I'd started like raising some money to like give grants to research. And one of the biggest things that I kept seeing as a problem was basically that this research was invisible. You have all these fantastic researchers who are working and communicating with each other, but that doesn't really break the mold. With certain things that are happening in the funding sphere, I think it's really important that researchers are able to get their story out there, whether that's to get collaboration, whether that's to get funding. And so that's kind of the focus of my work now, through funding, through branding and storytelling, and through tooling. So yeah, like pretty briefly, it's just like the problem is that with a lot of situations happening in the US and abroad right now, research is kind of losing its hype. I think for me, after the funding cuts happened, a lot of people who were at the lab that I was working at ended up leaving academia altogether. A lot of people who are younger researchers and early career scientists were most heavily affected. And it's kind of this idea of how do we keep these people in research so that we can advance things like longevity? How can we make sure that there are still scientists who are staying and that there's support there when they need them? This is kind of just to riff off that. This is a tweet that I put out kind of talking about how all other scientists, whether they're gamers, poker players, chess grandmasters, people who I call like weird nerds, have kind of been celebrated in pop culture. But the world hasn't really figured out, apart from Nobel scientists, really, how to celebrate researchers and speak our language. So how are we trying to fix this? Right now, the Distressed Scientist Department is kind of a writing platform. It's a Substack that I'm hoping to grow in the near future. It's gotten some support from journalists at Nature, at Science, AAAS, or AAAS. There are a couple advisors that I have on the board as well. And I've written a couple pieces for these kind of science funding, science philanthropy organizations like ARIA, Schmidt Sciences, Renaissance Philanthropy, kind of with the goal of connecting researchers, especially those who are trying to spin out their research, maybe away from the lab, dealing with tech transfers, younger postdocs, PhD students who are trying to explore what could be out there apart from academia, just to try to keep people on the research track and doing the things that they're passionate about and staying in the research world, how we can best support them. So these are just like a couple of stats on the last 2-ish months of writing this, I guess, Substack and growing that so far. In terms of growth, where I'm hoping to take this is kind of rolling out in 3 stages. Right now, I'm in a process of assembling some founding patrons and advisors, so kind of like what you saw on the last slide. So if anyone's interested, just let me know. And in the long term, what I'm hoping to do with this is to establish this into like a whole research ecosystem. So hopefully being able to display some research that a lot of you are doing into the community, whether that looks like tooling, whether that looks like partnerships with different funding organizations, whether that means putting it into like a science fair or a science show in local cities. It'd be fantastic to see this turn into what I call a science house. And the last thing I'm just showing on the last slide is how you can get in touch in case any of this is interesting to you. You can find my email, my Substack, my Twitter, which you can use to follow along. And yeah, hopefully some things cross-pollinate.
Thank you so much. You can also maybe drop your Substack and other details in the chat so people would have it, because I think everybody should subscribe and follow what you're doing. And next, Sean, do you mind going on?
All right, let me share screen. Can everyone see?
Yes.
Perfect. Cool. Well, hi everyone. Thank you, LongX, for having me, and it's nice to see some familiar faces here. My name is Sean. I'm currently a senior at Harvard studying neurobiology. Though these days I find myself less at school and far more in the lab. I work primarily with Bernardo Sabatini at the Harvard Medical School and the Kempner Institute, where I'm sitting right now. I'm a member of the second cohort of the Time Fellowship, and I am co-president of the Open Bio Laboratory. So yeah, I'll touch on 3 quick things today. First, I'll provide a perspective, then a bit on time, and then a bit on open bio. So first and foremost, the perspective. Right, I think, we're all here, we're interested in longevity. I believe that longevity isn't just about adding years to life, it's about adding quality years, right? Years that are clear, conscious, engaged. And the brain is central to that. The way an aging brain interacts with the world, whether it remains flexible and adaptive or becomes rigid and withdrawn, directly shapes independence, resilience, and quality of life. Most neuroscience with an aging angle focuses on neurodegenerative diseases, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. What we overlook with this perspective is the healthy, natural aging brain. Studying natural brain aging matters, I think, for 3 reasons. It explains everyday changes in how older adults, which we all become one day, learn and engage with the world differently from the ways we do in youth. It reveals the mechanisms behind why some people remain resilient in age while others decline more quickly. And it guides more useful interventions, showing us when and where to act to preserve health span instead of working backwards from disease extremes in a symptom management way. So yeah, super broadly, my work seeks to understand this process holistically by integrating more nuanced understandings of the behavioral changes happening with their causative neural correlates. And yeah, I mean, my whole thing is like, I think traditional approaches to behavior, right, like simple mazes, reaction times, are not up to par. And I instead choose to work with richer behavioral tasks paired with computational models that let us parse real decision-making processes. And alongside this, I probe the neural mechanisms underlying these shifts. So yeah, that's a bit about research. And I talk about this first because I think the Time Fellowship is an incredibly unique space in that, like, I think there is massive diversity between what we all work on and think about, right? I think just between my perspective and Jolie's perspective, we're in 2 sort of adjacent but entirely separate ways of thinking about how to push the aging field forward. But yeah, I think the Time Fellowship is a fantastic culmination of some of the most interesting and inspired people that I have met. We each work on different things, right? Some in research, like myself, some in advocacy, some in science communication, like Jolie, others in community building, like we've heard from Albert. And yeah, I think we all each come from unique backgrounds as well, and communities that we all bring to one another. So yeah, I mean, I've felt incredibly lucky for the opportunity. I would highly encourage those of you sort of here who are not involved yet to apply. Courtney has built like just an incredibly special community. And even if the fellowship is not up your alley, you should join the Slack group and keep up with the community. Lots of papers and like current news is being sent through that all the time. It's a nice way to stay involved. Finally, I want to share a bit about Open Bio. I know my time's up, but this is a group that has been most special to me in the past years. Open Bio is a group based out of Harvard. Open Bio is based out of Harvard, but it is an international group consisting of community members from everywhere, united by a belief in a mission. The mission being that it is on us, our generation, to move the world forward with biology. And if revolutions in the past have any common trend, it is that these paradigm shifts don't happen overnight. While it may have seemed like the iPhone popped out of nowhere, it was really years and years, countless of little discoveries that built off one another to catalyze the game-changing technology that we now hold in our hands. The same holds for biology, right? At Open Bio, we are building a community where we seek to enable, through dialogue, mentorship, resources, funds, anyone with the passion and motivation to build with biology and produce the building blocks of knowledge that will catalyze a world in which our bodies and health are in our hands. Now, this is super broad strokes. I know we're like super low on time, so I won't go into the exact arms of our group, but it's a mix of research and venture incubation and much of the community building and connection through international conferences, speaker series, and collaboration with groups in the area like Nucleate and the Harvard Grid that many other groups that have presented today are also working on. And I'll leave it at that, and I'll leave my contact information here if you hope to learn more, and hope to hear from all of you guys. And thank you again, LongX, for having me. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you so much, Sean. If anybody has questions, in general to any of our speakers that have ended. Okay, if not, Marvin.
Yeah, I know we went a bit over time, guys. I'm so sorry. So if you have, class you have to go to or work or lunch or anything, please go. I want to say thank you to all the speakers so much for coming. I know it's hard to organize everyone together across time zones and whatnot, but I think it was absolutely fantastic. I think in the group chat or the chat of the Zoom, there is a document with everyone's contacts. So if you miss taking a screenshot of their slide, their contact should be there if you have any questions. LongX team will hang back for like a few minutes in case anybody needs to be directed to any opportunities or websites. I'm sure everyone on the call will be can answer questions if you contact them directly, though. And there will also be a public recording of this event pushed out very soon. So if you want to review what we said or want to see people's slides again, we'll have that available very soon. But otherwise, please feel free to go. Have a great rest of your day, and thank you so much for coming.